Autumn is prime planting season, but it's also prime transplanting season. And that means making more from what you've got and or using what you've got better. Don't get overwhelmed looking at that big twisted clump of yesterday's impulse purchase. Make some free plants instead, baby. We'll tell you how today on The Garden Mixer.
I'm Leslie Harris. She's Marianne Wilburn. Thank you for listening. And I'm just so excited about free plants. I'm excited about free anything. I'll eat airplane food. Anything. Bring it.
You will. You are excited about your airplane food because it's free.
Yeah, well, actually, I've paid for it, but let's not think about that. Free plants in your garden, you might have already paid for those. However, it might be a favorite one that a friend gave you. It might be something that you inherited in a new garden that's just not in the right spot. And you're like, oh, it would be so much better over there instead. There's so much to do and so much thinking that you can do ahead of time. Don't forget that at the end of this episode, we are going to bring you 2 bonus plants in the section called Damn, I Wish I Had Planted That. But now in this episode, we're really concentrating on strategies, not tips and tricks, because that would make Marianne sad if I said that out loud, tips and tricks. She doesn't like tips and tricks.
That you've already said it 3 times too many.
Oh, so sorry.
Thank you.
Strategies on how to rearrange your garden for the better for next spring. I'm excited.
I am too. We've got a lot to cover today, so we better get at it. So what are you drinking? First off, what's the mix today, Les?
This is so exciting. Well, it's an old-fashioned. We are recording at the end of September. It's not really starting to get cool for me, but I was feeling fallish, and I didn't have any cider, so I muddled up some apples, and I made myself an apple old-fashioned with maple syrup and a little nutmeg and a little cinnamon. What do you think?
This is like a completely different drink than an old-fashioned, right? Because it isn't an old-fashioned bourbon and a cherry and old-fashioned mix, which is what?
Wait, did I not say bourbon? Bourbon's in this.
There's bourbon.
Oh, God, yeah.
So what's in an old-fashioned mix? I should know this. I think I've written about this.
It's sweets, basically. A liquor that is sweet, and you make it sweet. You muddle usually a citrus and some maraschino cherries in the bottom of the glass, and you might add some bitters, which I usually do. And I wouldn't bother with a good bourbon, like not a sipping bourbon, because you've put cream in your coffee. Why bother with the good stuff? But it's a nice, warm feeling. I drink it basically all winter. But I just thought I'd change this one up, like when I put pineapple in my margarita a couple weeks ago, which you were skeptical about, but I thought was delicious.
You thought it was good. So you've got to name this new drink. What is it? It's a apple fashioned.
Yeah, that sounds great. What are you drinking?
Let's ask a millennial. Jane, what should we name this drink? She's not even paying attention to us. Okay. I am just sticking with a good old fashioned Hendrix and tonic because it's my jam, baby. And It just sounded good, even though it is fall and I should be drinking something warming. But I did have to show you something that I, to my great shame, picked up in duty free. Reaching for it now. I'm embarrassed by this, but at the same time,
I've seen it.
Excited.
I love it.
For our listeners out there who are not on YouTube, looking on YouTube right now, it is a Hendrix gin bottle encased in a watering can. I mean, if I saw a watering can that was black and this big in a shop for watering cans, my first thought would be, yeah, that's too small and it's black. I don't need either of those things. But you put a Hendrix label on it and stick 3/4 of a liter of gin, that's my favorite, in it, and I'm all over it. So
I think I would have bought one if I saw it.
Well done, the marketing arm of Hendrix Gin. Another sucker born.
We have a few things in Clear Up Corner. I want to tell you 2 things that you were right about. And I know you love this part of the show when I tell you that you were right. One is that a cornhole, which I was sort of joking was the way you say Cornwall, if you say it quickly, Cornwall, is an innocent game with beanbags. But when you sort of had this idea that it might be something else, you're right. You don't want to find that in your search history of your computer. It can mean another thing.
It wasn't that I had an idea. It was that I hate the sound of the word. There are certain words that you just hate the sound of.
Tips and tricks?
Yeah. Tips and tricks. God, that just, makes all the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Cornhole is another. Honestly, I've always hated the term blogger. I've never liked that term. It was such an ugly term, blogger.
Yeah, it's not beautiful.
Blog, look at my blog. When that first came out, I mean, literally within that first year, I was thinking, "Come on, guys, could we come up with something else better than
Anything.
weblog, blog?" That's what they came from. For those of you who were born after 2011 or whatever that was, our younger audience, it came from weblog, blog, and nobody keeps a log. They keep a journal. It should have been Blurnal. No, that wouldn't have been any better. I don't know what would have been
Yeah.
better. How about you're just a writer online? You're a writer online, but
The other thing that you were correct about is that when you were just wondering whether that game, the innocent beanbag game, was such a thing that we should, not feel good about, you also mentioned something about putting something up one's posterior. And then you said, oh my God, I'm so repressed. And I checked into it. And yes, you are correct about that too. Congratulations.
you bitch. Okay, moving on. The dahlia with the magenta bloom that I was trying to come up with that I saw at the garden house. And I thought, oh, I actually might grow that because the magenta was sort of going into the dark foliage as well and making it gorgeous. That was called Magenta Star, for those of you who were looking to just based on my random recommendation, just suddenly run out and buy it. But it is actually very, very pretty. And I think we have been pulled up by our socks. Is that the correct term? By Jenny Price Nelson, who was on our trip with us and asked us, please, very respectfully, could we stop saying Solidago and say the way it's supposed to be pronounced, which is Solidago. Mea culpa, Jenny. It will never, ever happen again.
Jenny surmised that it was because of Spanish pronunciation. I would absolutely go there. That is my, if I make a mistake in pronunciation, it's because I go to Spanish and less Latin, although they are related. In this case, I always had said Solidago until I started listening to you on that podcast
That's
recording.
right.
And I'm like, oh, maybe it's Solidago. I'll just go with her pronunciation. So anyway,
All my fault.
Solidago, you couldn't have been around in the 1960s. You weren't. When I believe it was the last two
Thank you.
syllables of the correct pronunciation of that word would have been kind of a universal slur
Slur.
of a certain ethnic group. Anyway, I thought it was cool how when I tried to find out what magenta star was, there were probably half a dozen dark foliage dahlias with magenta blooms, but this one was special because the foliage sort of did reflect the color of the bloom. So very cool.
Did you see it? Did you agree with me?
No, I saw it in my photographs. I saw it in real life when I went to find out without bothering you, because you always get mad when I bother you. Hey, what was that dahlia you were talking about? I couldn't find it on my own, and I threw it into the Google machine, and so many came up.
I have in the past, I have looked completely past like the Mystic series of dahlias, single dahlias. I love Illusion. That is probably my favorite dahlia, single yellow on a bronze foliage. They've got a lot of terrific pink and white and red and magenta against bronze foliage. And I've never wanted to grow any of them. Sorry, do them in orange.
Sorry, guys.
But sorry, guys. But I do love I love Mystic Illusion. But this one was really a little bit different. So I do actually find myself drawn to something magenta.
Who would have thunk it?
Coteal is actually on the river Tamar, not Talbar or Tabar or whatever you said.
But I did win the dibble.
But that's pretty minor. And another minor. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that when I pulled up the big five, we were joking about the big five, the lion, the tiger, the elephant. My big five that Chad came up with were Q, Wisley, Sissinghurst, Great Dixter was number 5. Number 4 was Bodnet, which I have seen twice. I would like to see it with you. I'm only bringing this up because it's minorly interesting, and I would love you to start planning a trip for horticultural to go to Wales. Mary Bacon and Marianne and I will be coming. Not Marianne
Are you
Wilburn, the other Marianne Burke.
you will
Will be
be my
coming.
3 guests.
Yeah,
Okay.
so figure that one out.
We are going to do a trip of Wales, although that will be tricky because Bodnant is up at the very, very top of Wales. And if you think about Anne and Charles down there at the Vedu, in Chepstow at the bottom of Wales, or sort of, the crossing point there at the bridge, that's almost 4 hours away. It's like, I don't know. Perhaps we grab a little bit of Wales when we're up in the Manchester, sort of the north of England. trip. I don't
Okay.
know. We'll have to see because usually we grabbed Vedu when we were in Bath. Remember?
Mhm.
So
I do
maybe we can
remember.
grab it on another trip and do other Welsh gardens. So yes, the answer to you is yes. And I actually went back and checked with Grok to see, and he had changed his story and he now included bonnets. So evidently there were like 5 more visitors there since the last time he checked, and you'd forgotten about Starhead. So that just goes to show you, people, do not believe everything you hear on the internet
Or from us, for
or
that matter.
from us, for that matter, based on how long this clear up corner is.
Yeah.
But one thing we do always want to clear up with you is how to become a paid supporter, a paid subscriber of the Garden Mixer podcast, and to be able to be part of the One More Sip committed community where you get to have a One More Sip episode every other week when everybody who's just getting the free episodes, of which we're talking to you right now, uh, they're having to wait every 2 weeks. You guys don't have to wait. The way that you do that is you go to Substack and you subscribe there, and it gives you the option to be a paid subscriber, and it's tiny. It's not very much. It's like $4.16 a month. Or you could be a founding mixer and have your name immortalized in our show notes forever and ever. Amen. So that's the way to do it. And there's another really good reason for being a paid mixer because we're going to be doing a Substack live for the very first time on October 16th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're going to grab yourself a drink, and Leslie and I are going to have a little mini episode there, and we will answer your questions that come in and say hello to all of you. And it's going to be fun. Total
Yeah.
experiment. We'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be good.
Fingers crossed. So let's move on to the topic. It's such a good one. It's
Oh, the
one of my
topic, right. Yes, of course,
yeah,
the
yeah,
topic.
the gardening topic. It
Yeah,
is, I
gardening.
mean, it's on, baby. By the time you hear this will drop first third of October. And even if you live in the South like we do, Marianne's in sort of northern part of Virginia. I'm in the middle part of Virginia, but the nights are starting to get cool. The rains are starting to be more gentle and prolific, and it is time to rearrange your garden. And that means that you can take away some things, you can change some things, you can divide some things and get the new plants. And why now? Now is really good, and explain that to them, Lucy. I mean, Marianne.
Yes, I will do that. Well, something that gardeners don't always think about, especially if they're just beginning, is the fact that in the fall, that earth, that soil is still really warm. It hasn't had a chance to chill out. And so the outside temperatures are cooler, putting less stress on the plant, but those wonderful areas where the roots need to run are warm and encouraging. And we also have better fall rains, usually. A lot of places that have a dry summer, that's when they're experiencing their rains, is in the fall and winter. And for us, we have a lot of rain in the summer usually, but we have a good amount in the fall too. So if you are a really terrible gardener and you don't want to water, you have a better chance of these things living. Although, please water your transplants.
Please water.
That's why we do it in the fall. They have time to establish their roots. And the earlier that we do it in the fall, the better. We're talking to you mid October right now, but this season starts as soon as the temperatures start to cool a little bit, beginning of September, end of September, depending on what the season is like. And some people can be planting all the way through to December. You're taking some chances. And as long as you always know the rules that you are bending and possibly breaking, then fine. Don't think, hey, it's fine. It's December. I can still plant. Yeah, maybe you can. Better if you did it in October, though.
Yeah, for the warmth of the soil and for the encouragement of those roots. Let's talk about division first. A perennial is a great way to get free plants. Just tell you a little story. When I was a brand new gardener, had a baby who was always taking a nap. I probably should still been at work. I had a high
What
energy
kind of
level.
baby is that?
Yeah,
I did not have those babies.
he was a big napper guy. Bills have been paid, dinner's been made. I'm like, well, we have a new little house here. What isn't growing in the garden? And I went to the library and I checked out books, and I discovered that you could stab a shovel into something that I had identified as a hosta, and you could make 2, 3, or 10 of them. And I had so much fun. Never been bored since, actually. It was my first experiment into gardening. It's funny that when I was thinking about what to say tonight, there are some perennials that I wouldn't bother to divide because they look so magnificently huge when you don't divide them. And I would say that hosta is in that category. Yet, if you want free plants, I had a friend who was growing a bunch of those. How do you pronounce that? Sibboldiana. Siebola.
Siboldiana?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the really
Siboldiana,
big
I think.
kind of rumply leaves that
So is it Siboldii, Siboldiana? I don't remember. If I had taken Latin in my country day school, not my rural high school, I would tell you.
she had so many of these things, and they're the wonderful kind with the rumply leaf that the slugs don't get too excited about, and I was, greedy, and I asked her if I could take some divisions, and I did, but it was the time of year that I'm stabbing the shovel through them, and they do not look better when I am finished, so I thought, it's time for that foliage to go anyway, I'll just take them away." Her husband came home from work and had some questions.
Oh, okay.
He didn't realize that they would just grow back in the spring. But what do you use? What's your general go-to for a tool when you want to go and divide a perennial?
A very, very sharp spade. I tend to be one of those people who very rarely shaves off of the sides of a perennial. I tend to dig the whole thing up. I just want to be able to see what I'm dealing with. And also, a lot of perennials get very old and woody in the middle. So, just shaving off their newest growth and using that is just not going to help you in the long run. So I will usually pop it up with a shovel and then use a very, very sharp spade to bludgeon it to death. No. Um, but if it's something like a hosta or hellebore, I tend to divide hellebores just after they've bloomed in the spring. I will use a very sharp knife and do some cutty cutty with a very sharp knife.
So
And
you've dug up the whole thing with a spade, with a shovel or spade, and then you're going to do surgery on that clump, yes?
yeah, somewhat of surgery. Now, depending on the type of perennial it is, if it naturally is trying to divide itself, there are many different little crowns, it's more fibrous rooted, two forks, two garden forks put down into it back to back, right up against each other, and then you push them apart. That is another good way to do that. It's hard for something that is really
Clumpy.
got very, very thick, clumpy, fleshy not fleshy per se, but you know what I'm talking about, like hosta.
Like hosta, like hellebore. What else? Some ferns are difficult like that.
Mhm. You're cutting into something that's not a root, it's like the core of the plant in a
Mhm.
way, and that's hard with forks. I don't think it's necessarily rhizomes. It's just a fleshy part of the base of the plant. I'm sure there is a botanical name, and now we've got to go to Clear Up Corner. And just so we don't have to do this for Clear Up Corner next time, it is Hosta Siboldiana.
Oh,
Okay, there
that
we
came
go.
from my mouth first. I would like to take credit for not
You
screwing
did.
that up.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
And I just don't want to have this long list next time. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, Siboldiana. Holy crap! I don't need Jenny after me on that one. Moving swiftly back.
Back. How do you I didn't put this on our list, but I was just thinking about ones that are sort of want to come apart more, or you can see little clumps of them more. I have one of my favorite, they're her fingers. If you, by the way, if you're listening to this on audio, go for it. That's great because you're probably getting a lot done. If you want to see this on video, we're one of the few, only maybe, gardening podcasts that actually puts in pictures of the plants that we are talking about on YouTube. So just so you know that. And Marianne's fingers were being very crazy. Heuchera, Autumn Bride. Do you know that one?
I do. I grow that. It's not in a very lovely place, and so it's not super happy, so it just sort of sits there, and it's
Oh,
never needed to be divided because it just sits there, just trying to stay alive. But it is a terrific plant. I've grown it in my other garden, and I loved it, and I really need to move it, so maybe I'll move that next
yeah.
week.
Put that on your list to move. I had that in a place in my big garden that I moved away from 2 years ago that I was constantly dividing it. I had a really wonderful patch, like 6 by 6, and it did make the travel team. And that little baby is now looking at me saying, "Hey, I could be 2 or 3 plants, and I think I'll do it again." That's a fabulous plant. It has that nice medium green, the big leaves, and it's blooming right now in September.
Yeah, and if you are really fed up with heuchera because you buy all these pretty, pretty ones that are very, very colorful, and then they all melt out for you because of heat and just short-lived perennial syndrome. What is that? SLPS. SLPS, you know. Autumn Bride heuchera is a terrific one that you won't have to weep over it. It will, if you put it in a decent place and don't just ignore it like I'm doing, it will do really well for you. But heuchera is a great example of one of those fibrous, like ajuga is another one. If you dig up a big clump of ajuga, you don't need to take a shovel to it, a knife to it, anything. You just very slowly manipulate those roots apart from each other. And you can end up with very painlessly with lot less damage to either roots or rhizomes or crowns of the plant by seeing if you can do that first. You can wash all the soil off of it to see if you can do that, what you're working with, and if you can pull them apart. And that way, just do a lot less damage to the plants.
2 others that spring to mind on that sort of thing would be an easy digger, which would be the German iris. And then you're going to see, oh, exactly that tuber goes with that leaf, and let's move that over there. Very easy, very nice. Another one that's not so easy because you probably should dig up the whole thing to see what you're doing. And those guys can be 100 years old and full of soil and very heavy, is the herbaceous peony. Which is, if you're lucky enough to have one that old, you can get divisions. You don't need to. It's not going to die off in the middle. But if you want to share a precious plant, that's one where you're like, yeah, that tuber goes with that piece, that eye. There's an eye on the tuber. And so you're going to want to grab carefully, or just tell your friend to go shopping. I don't know.
I'm thinking of doing that this year if I get enough time to dig a lovely established peony. It's a single, just a seedling that became very beautiful over time. Because I have got, and do that with the roots, because I have got not box elder. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Elderberry?
Not elderberry, not elderflower. Oh, come on. How many elders are there? Ground elder
Oh,
in it. And it is agapodium. It is throughout the roots. And so no matter how much I dig up and get rid of the agapodium around it, it's within those roots. And so it just keeps coming back out of the peony. And the only way to cope with this is to dig it and pull it out of the roots completely, like separate all the roots. But I haven't done it to this point because peonies aren't that thrilled with having this type of treatment done to them, and I don't want to lose a year of bloom possibly because it's sulking. So I haven't done it, and I just keep battling that damn ground elder.
mm. If you are planting a peony new or transplanting a peony, don't forget that just like German irises and many irises, peony tubers do not want to go way down into the earth. They want to sunbathe near the top.
A little bit. The other thing to think about with some of these perennials, should I divide, should I not, is that some that are doing just fine, like and two that I can think of are epimedium and rhodia, the sacred lily, and what's epimedium? Barrenwort.
Yes.
They're gonna be fine just getting bigger and bigger and bigger slowly, and that means if you just want more of them in a large clump, it's gonna take forever and a day for that clump to get out, but if you dig them, divide them, and then replant them, like you just bought a bunch of them, you're going to, get a big clump a lot faster than trying to let them do that on their own. So that's
Yeah.
another reason for dividing.
Here are a couple of plants that give me troubles for transplanting, and so
Mm.
I like to leave them alone. I don't have them established in this garden now, but I've gardened them a lot and, former clients' gardens and my other gardens. Although one of them, I do have new little babies. The first one is Amsonia, what they call Blue Star, which is a fabulous fall plant. If you have it in your garden, enjoy it. You've got that very yellow thread-like foliage. It is really difficult to. It's got this like woody root system. It's like wood there's a trunk under the ground instead of fleshy things that you can divide. It's very difficult. The other one is Baptisia, that's got a taproot, and that is a no fun divider thing. So unless you're quite sure,
The other one is agapanthus.
is that a toughie?
It
I thought that
is.
was more
It is.
clumpy, or is it taprooty?
There is a well, I don't know if it's taprooty. It's clumpy. It's like, like, Amsonia. I think I have not moved the Amsonia that I would like to move over by about a foot and a half. I want the clump to be about a foot and a half to the right, and I look at it and I think, "I just don't want that enough." It would be perfect like that, but I don't want it bad enough to dig that SOB out of the ground.
I've heard of somebody who had more money than sense who moved a swimming pool 2 feet because of a view from a window. Hmm.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind a little bit more money than sense on that one, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that, nor am I gonna put anybody else that I'm paying by the hour to do it, because it will be a few hours, for a foot and a half. But they have lots of little baby seedlings that if you want them, get them out of the ground and get them repotted where you want them quickly because they will make it hard for you to do it later, bigger they get, so be warned.
These are the ones that are new in my garden up on the hillside. A friend of mine had an Amsonia that had a bunch of babies, and she invited me to take some. I'm like, "Yeah," because those roots were tiny things that I could handle, and I
Yeah.
think most of them have taken, so I'm excited. Let me ask you this, when you go to divide a perennial at this time of year in the fall, for the most part, do you cut things back in when you go to divide them?
Yeah, I think generally I do. I mean, I try and make it a little less stressful on the plant, and it depends. If it's a very woody shrub, yeah, I'd probably reduce it by at least a third. And if it's a perennial, I'm just going to be bringing it down to, stubby stubbies,
Mm.
probably. Unless it's in like, it's got a lot of green growth. And I'd like to, allow some of that chlorophyll to keep filtering into those roots and making it a happy plant. I think, what, don't you?
Yeah, I think I take it, plant by plant. If it's right by my front door and I've made a dog's breakfast out of it, down it will come. But if it's
Right.
looking pretty good, I'm like, "Ooh, I did that with some skill and dexterity. I might be keeping that the way it is right now," and it can photosynthesize until that frost comes. So, yeah, it depends. Now, I have another question for you. When you go to transplant a shrub, and we're gonna talk in a minute about how some things are just so much happier if you transplant them in spring than in fall. But some things are fine in fall, and also, it can be that old adage, like, do your pruning when your shears are sharp, when you have time, when you can, and if now is when you can, then do. Do you look for divisions when you're transplanting a shrub? Do you look for offshoots, root cuttings?
Oh, yeah. 100% because I've usually layered them on purpose.
Uh-huh.
I've already done that.
Just in case somebody's new, remind what layering is.
So, layering is taking a branch of a shrub that's fairly low to the ground already and pinning it down to the soil so that it will root and make you another plant within probably a year to 2 years, depending on what it is. Sometimes you can wound the bark to make that a little faster, but overall, if you just get it so that it's bent down lower than the rest of the main mother shrub, that will get it to start rooting, and you've got another plant ready to go. Whether or not that's legal in some places is a whole nother thing. We'll deal with the legalities in a moment, listeners.
Skimming over that. Don't forget that
Yeah.
when you do layer, it's always smart to put some sort of incongruous item like, I don't know, a heavy child's toy or a brick or a stone, where
Stone.
you have placed the branch underground. Otherwise, you'll forget. I mean, I forget. And then
Oh,
when
you'll
you see that stone or that brick, you'll be like, "Why is that there? Oh, yes, I might have a new plant. Let's go check it out." And then you cut it from the base, and then maybe you do have a new plant.
layering can be difficult too because sometimes the plant does it on its own and you don't really want it. Or it's a suckering plant like an Itea or a
Clethra alnifolia.
forsythia.
Forsythia,
Yeah.
Hydrangea quercifolia, I have those layering up the wazoo. Do you want some?
Ficus, I do not.
Okay.
And you go to be weeding around it and you find a new shrub, so to speak, all rooted. And so you cut it off and then you look at those roots and you think, oh my gosh, a this is a viable plant. I can't just throw it on the compost pile, but I don't want another one. And this is where plant swaps come in, folks. This
Pot it up,
so
give it to
this is
somebody.
where you pot them up, you join a garden club, and I hope that if you are not part of a garden club in your area, that you get into a garden club in your area. Don't let Facebook be your only way of talking to other gardeners because that is not face to face. We need this face to face stuff because we need to get these plants as well. And usually garden clubs have swaps in the spring and the fall during the planting season. If you pot them up and you keep them in sort of a shadier area, maybe close to a hose, then you've got something to swap for later. You don't have to just go through your garden looking for things to dig up. You've already got them ready to go. And chances are there are people who want to get their hands on that clethra or that itea or that ficus or forsythia or whatever it is.
Good advice.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. It's always a good thing, even if it's not your day if it's not your day to do this, it's coming. Your day is coming. So grab that cocktail, grab that coffee, wander around your garden, and make a mental list at least. Probably getting out pen and pencil or your phone is not a bad idea to make a list so that you'll know, like, ooh, that would be so much better over there, and I would like 3 more of those, and that's big enough for me to do so. I wanna move that, but I think I read that that's better moved in the spring. Let me look that up later. Do some mental homework on what you're about to do before you just grab a shovel and start digging away. I think you'll probably be happier in the end that you've planned out a little bit. As you're planning, keep in mind what you have purchased that is coming in the mail called bulbs. Oh my gosh, you're gonna want some real estate for those too. And so maybe setting aside some sections of your garden where you're like, well, I want to attack that part, but I know I want to put bulbs there. So let's wait and do both of them together on the same day or in the same weekend or something like that. It's good to plan ahead.
Yeah, even so far as digging your hole where you're going to put something before you go and divide it, then it ensures that it's those roots that can dry out so quickly can go straight into another place, especially if you're just cutting something in half and you just want to put it into another place and still put it back where it was. It's a good idea to dig that hole before because I don't know about you, but you did say once you had princess piles where you would just you
Mhm.
would dig, you do all your pruning and then you leave these piles and then tell somebody else to clean them up for you.
Well, that's when I had employees.
When you had employees, and now you and me, it's just there's princess piles and no minions, and so I will go crazy with doing my pruning and my trimming and my weeding, and then I've got all this stuff and I'm too tired. And that's true for dividing perennials too. You can get all excited, start digging up these big clumps, cutting them, assembly line, I'm cutting them up. I've got all these divisions. And then, oh my gosh, it's like 8 o'clock. The sun was down 2 hours ago,
Turn on the headlights.
and I'm tired, turn on the headlights. So try and work in small chunks
Mhm.
so that you're not, like, okay, I've got this huge flocks to deal with. And it could be that I end up with probably 6 divisions of it. And I need a place for all of them, or I need plastic bags for them, or, something to be worthy of the investment in time. There is no point in killing yourself and doing this work if you then waste it.
Yes.
It's like you grow 16 tomato plants because you think, "Oh, that's gonna be great," and then tomato season comes around and they're all rotting on the vine. Well, you took a lot of time over those 16 plants to raise them and to get them to that point. So you've really let yourself down and let
Shame on
Leslie
you.
down and you've let me down and
Oh, we're feeling
you've
it.
let everyone down. So don't do that. Have 2 plants instead. Or, don't make all of those divisions or make bigger divisions and just bite this stuff off in chunks. Do yourself a favor and your adrenal gland will thank you. Adrenal failure at 35. Woohoo, right here.
That's what do we wanna talk about that?
Yeah.
We
I know.
do?
No, I don't wanna talk about it. I'm just telling them, "Don't do this. You think you can do everything. You cannot. You are human. You are not superwoman or
Okay.
man."
Couple of hacks with that. If you know where you wanna plant those guys and you've dug your hole and you're feeling like, "Oh, and then I have to drag the hose out," go ahead and fill that hole with water. If you have amazingly clay soil, don't and the plant needs good drainage, maybe don't do that. Most plants, would love to have that initial bath, and then the water will drain away, and you're off the hook for the next couple of days. Another hack would be to get a trug or some plastic bags, as Marianne mentioned, and just say, "Okay, I'm doing my divisions today. I don't have time to plant today. It actually is 8 o'clock, and my headlights can't point at that part of my garden. I'm going in
Well,
to join
a
my
couple of
husband,
them can.
who thinks I'm crazy, and just put these clumps in a trug in the shade. They can sit there for a week, honestly. I mean, you probably would cut off the foliage because the foliage will not be happy, but if you have those root balls reasonably damp, put some newspaper or plastic over the trug, they will last at least a week, maybe 2. Obviously, you could pot them up if you're so inclined, but just throwing them in something in shade will get you some mileage. Um, I have some specific things I wanna ask you about, oh, master gardener.
Oh,
Oh, but
please don't
wait,
call me
you
that. Hold
you've let that lapse.
I left that lapse. I'm not official anymore.
Neither am I a certified horticulturist. I let that lapse. Okay. Another good reason to join any sort of gardening society or club where you could just pick other people's brains because they might have experience doing something that you don't
Oh,
have.
yeah.
I have an idea of what I wanna do with this plant, but I just thought I'd check it with you. I got myself a big old morning light to grow in great-grandfather's urn at the end of the bowling alley. It has made me happy
Which
all
is not
summer.
holding his ashes. We just have to keep saying that. Okay.
No, it's not. It's a plant
I
thing.
wish you would give that urn another name. Okay, great-grandfather's urn says only one thing to everybody.
It's if
Okay?
they saw the
That's all
size
it
of it,
says.
they'd be like, "Whoa, he was a big dude."
He's a big man.
It's so cool. It's
Um,
so Victorian. It's very old and iron, and it's probably 4.5 feet tall. It's big. I have a morning light growing in there. It has expanded its root system so that when I was away, I just got back a couple of days ago for being 3.5 weeks away, and I have a wonderful friend who waters for me, but I just don't think unless you were out there every day, this never would have been watered well enough because the roots are now taking up most of that pot, and so it's impossible for it to hold the moisture. The edges of the morning light have really gotten brown, but it's still alive. My gut is to take that thing out of its pot. I will probably be cutting the plastic pot off of it because you know how that goes when they get so root bound. Better than breaking a terracotta one, I suppose, which I have done. So I remove the pot and I've got this root bound thing. I can save it if I divide it. The whole thing is stressed, but if I make 3 or 4 little ones and just stick them in the ground for winter, it's a perfectly hardy plant. It doesn't need to be in a pot. That's just where I like to grow it. Do you think that's smart to do right now to save what's looking stressed?
well, you don't have a lot of options, do you? It's probably gonna have a hell of a time getting through the winter it's in a plastic pot in your grandfather's urn, so
Mhm.
it never really used all of the urn, it just used its pot.
Oh, yeah, because it has that cut in sort of thing so that you would never get that thing out. It goes beneath the top,
Oh.
and you would be so sad trying to get that out
Oh,
once
you
those
would.
roots expanded into the edges of grandfather's not urn. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you have a lot to lose there. Usually, I will not dig and divide or transplant my warm season grasses when it's starting to get really cold. I like to do that in the spring when they're starting to plump up and I mean, you just can't stop them from growing. That's when I like to divide them. It doesn't mean that yours are gonna die. Do you really need 3 morning lights is the question.
No.
Would it be easier just to throw it into because another thing to do when you have a plant like that it's not marginally hardy, but it might have an issue with this time of year, you doing that, is putting it into a compost pile and just sort of healing it in. Putting
Ah,
that root ball, not disturbing those roots too much, and just putting it into an area that's it's going to get some moisture but not be too wet, and just sort of sit and be healed in for the winter. I'll do that with things like marginals like crepe myrtle for me, magnolia, camellias, that type of thing. If there is really marginal, I don't want to mess with them too much in the fall because especially in we're right now mid October, especially right now. Maybe a month ago, different, but now I don't know. But you don't have anything to lose, so do it.
Right. The reason my gut says to make it smaller, and I can make it smaller next spring, is because I want to grow it in the exact same situation next year, but it would never do because it is all roots now.
It's trying to commit suicide so you won't do that to it again. Trying to get out of that.
Let's get away from this lady. I want it smaller
I'll fake my own death.
for that reason, and I don't want to dig such a huge hole. I just want to dig a tiny little hole of a division of it, and so maybe I'll just split it in half and then take a couple of. I'll just see how the surgery goes.
Here,
I'll let
I
you know.
got a solution for you, girl. I got a
Go shopping.
solution. Go ahead, cut it up and do what you will with it. Make nice for cut it up into the size hole that you want,
Uh-huh.
selfish. And then if it dies, I will give you a division because I have more than enough.
Oh, I like this proposition.
Is that a decent thing? I mean, it does mean that we need to meet face to face
Well, that's
at some
okay.
point in the spring. I think we can pull that off.
I think we can pull that off. All right, so that
Okay.
was one question. My other question is, how is your Hemiboea subcapitata doing that I gave you?
I beg your pardon.
Oh, y'all,
What
this
a
is just
crazy name for a plant.
I
What is
know.
the common name of that guy?
Okay, it is it didn't help me at all, I had to look it up. It is
Oh,
false it is false Sininja, and I'm like, "Well, what the heck is Sininja?" Well, Sininja is Gloxinia, so why don't we cut to the chase and call it false
it's
Gloxinia?
false
And it does indeed look
Gloxinia.
sort of like a Gloxinia, but I didn't know that Sininja anyway. It's a cute little plant, it's got this real glossy leaf, grows in the shade, can take a little bit of sun, and these huge flowers that are happening right now for me. Do you have some growing? Do you still have that little piece I gave you?
You know, I do have it growing. I had thought it had just sort of blah, 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 but it actually was just getting its feet underneath it, and it has been remarkably healthy. But I admit that I have not checked it in the last 4 days after I did, like, a big old weed fest of the main part of the garden. It's over by the chicken coop in that area I had already dealt with about 4 weeks ago. So, I haven't checked to see if it is blooming, but I promise you I will go down there either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I will see because it would be nice to get something out of all of those big leaves and being careful in the label that I lovingly made for it and
Oh,
Hemioba. Is that right? Hemioba?
Hemiboea.
Hemibobia? Hemiboobia?
Hemiboea. Yes, just false gloxinia. All right, here's another one. Would be easiest. I am having, this is just so interesting. Well, I mean, everybody who's
To
listening to a
you.
garden podcast would think it's interesting. You grow plants in a couple of different places, even in your tiny, tiny garden, and they grow in completely different ways. My hemiboea that I brought from my house 2 years ago, where I put it originally, is like saying, I'm not so happy here. Whereas I took a little piece of it and stuck it under that front Japanese maple just near, the front of the house. And it's like, oh, this is it. This is where I'm going to be. And it's flowering and all this stuff. Same thing happened with two farfugiums that I brought along. One of them is Aureo maculatum, which is, what do they call that, leopard's plant or something? It's the green one with the yellow spots.
Farfugium. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Ligularia.
Well,
It's a
both are
Ligularia, isn't it? Or is it a Farfugium? No, it's a Farfugium.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because those are both acceptable botanical names. I think it's much more fun to say farfugium, but that's just me.
No, I think Ligularia I don't think it is a Ligularia. And I don't
Okay.
think Ligularia has gone over to Farfugium, but I think Farfugium was part of
Clear up
Ligularia?
corner,
I don't
baby.
know.
You just can't
Damn
wait
it,
to
I
hear about
didn't
this.
wanna have to go back there for that.
No.
Okay, fair
Clear corner
enough.
is fun. Wrap your head around it. It's fun to
All
learn.
right.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, I
I'm so
have
happy. Okay.
I have a Oreo maculatum that is barely hanging on. I see this one pathetic little leaf, and it was gangbusters at my last garden. And then I brought over this kind of precious, wonderful one that I got from Tony Avens at Plant Delights, and it is the argentum. So that's the green, sort of a darker green with white variegation. Really pretty. And that guy is happy sitting right next to the other one in the bowling alley. I mean, go figure.
Okay, so 2 questions. the one is the one that's sort of wasting away and saying goodbye. Was that a division or was that an old plant?
Both were divisions.
They were both divisions, okay. So there's that, and then the second one is you're speaking a foreign language to me because I cannot grow farfugium here. They are not hardy for me here, or they're really marginal. I can grow, Ligularia, or some Ligularia, but farfugium, it ain't happening, girl. It's zone 7B.
So would you be suspecting that I only brought that up to make you jealous?
Yeah, I would be thinking that, and I would be right, sir.
I'm not that smart. I didn't know you couldn't grow it. Ah.
Can I, just to make you jealous, just tell you that I was doing a whole bunch of crazy weeding yesterday and came across a Polemonium is behind the curtain, Hamlet, and
Big enough to divide, don't give it to me.
yeah, bright and happy and alive, oh-ho. Although its 2 other brothers were not. So there
Oh.
we go. 1 out
Oh,
of 3.
interesting.
Which brings me back to what I wanted to say about 2 minutes ago, which is this is why the plant people in your life, if you're new to gardening, say, yeah, kill it 3 times. Kill it 3 times. You know, it's okay to kill a plant 3 times because you plant it once in a dumb place, let's say. Or no, let's not say dumb. Let's not be judgy spice here.
Unlucky.
Let's be no, unlucky still. An aspirational place. Like you want it to live there because it will look so good there, but it doesn't want to be there. And it tells you so by committing suicide. So then you take it and now you could stop and just say, well, that plant sucked. And I can't grow it. And it hates me and all of that stuff. Or you can try it again in a new spot. You can maybe go back and figure out where this plant grows in the wild, not just China or North Dakota, but what are the exact ecological conditions that it grows under? And then try and offer it that if you have that ability to offer it that. Correct the drainage or find a sunnier area or give it more shade or what have you, and try it again. And if it dies again, okay, we're starting to get a little testy here. This is why you go to plant swap so you can get it for free again, maybe next year and try it again in another spot. And if you're really 3 times and you're just like, this plant is not doing well for me, okay, then you can maybe make some pronouncements about the plant or a particular cultivar. I grew Ligularia Othello for many years and loved it. And then I started growing Desdemona very close to it. And it just was weak and weedy and just not exciting. And I remember writing about it, saying Desdemona is as weak and weedy as her namesake. But really, it wasn't about that because I've seen it in other gardens growing well since then. It was just I was growing it badly and I wasn't giving it what it needed. And perhaps it was in a little area of more heavy soil. And whereas the Othello had a stronger, bigger root system and a better hole. So it's best to try these plants 3 times or more. Don't you think?
Yes.
I'm getting off my soapbox.
Okay, 3 strikes and I'm out with Polemonium.
So what am I getting rid of? What am I going to deal with? You remember that Regersea I said I needed to dig up and then charge $27 per division?
Do it. Only you might get arrested.
That's right. Well, I'm going to dig it up, but I am going to cut it up and I'm going to use it all over my garden because I have a lot of places where it could go. So I've been ignoring it because it is a very heavy, hard, knotty clump and it's not going to be fun.
Mm.
But I'm going to do it because that area of the bed could use a little renovation too. And I've realized that Regersea is stopping me from renovating there. I sort of keep moving around it. Just like, no, the whole thing needs to come out. So that's one. I'm going to grab a Gianna phlox that needs to be divided and would look great in so many other parts of the garden. That's one of my favorites. That's a native cultivar, I think, not patented that one. But another one that is Kapow Pink, which is huge and has got to be dug up and divided. I'm also going to do a little bit of dividing of my rhodia because I would like that to spread a little bit more, and I have some great variegated ones, that as soon as they show any signs of sending up another little tiny plant, I cut it apart and divide it, so I'll probably
That's a
do
great plan.
that. But I did a lot of dividing last season, and so really, for me this year, it's more about moving things. I'm gonna
Okay.
be moving things into better positions for them because I made some bad choices earlier. So I think that's really where my transplanting is going to be.
Would love to point out just a couple of plants before we move on that really would appreciate the spring division as opposed to fall. I can't think of too many. A Stilby always reacts really, really well to a spring division. I feel like the clump comes up, you divide it, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I have 3 clumps the size of that 1 clump that I just divided. Any that
Yeah.
pop into your head?
There's a lot of pent-up energy, with Astilbe, like I said, with the grasses, once they get started going, it's a great time to divide them. I do not divide my hellebores until the spring, and it's early spring. It's after they've bloomed, it's usually sort of mid-March, and I'm pretty ruthless with them with a knife, and those divisions sulk a little bit, but yeah, they do fine.
That makes really good sense because, if you're new to hellebores, so they're gonna send up those flowers in winter. The new foliage is not gonna come up. 1 or 2 might come up with the flower, but you can really scalp them, divide them, and then not have the sulking period because although every hellebore I've ever divided survived, it never let me think that it was a good idea to do that to them. They always were mad at me.
Yeah, they sulk, and it but that's different than, dying. A
Right.
little bit of sulking, it's good for every toddler, and it's good sometimes for your plants too if you wanna get more of them. It's a good time to plant, it's a good time to transplant.
It is. I think we've done it. Hey now, I had a comment from a YouTube listener, and I'm sorry that I did not write down her name, but his or her name, but this is what he or she said. My Calicarpa dichotoma self-seeded heavily and widely, front and backyard, causing me to dig it and seedlings out. 4 years later, I'm still grubbing out the progeny. I've planted Calicarpa americana ever since. When you talked about the dichotoma, I was scratching my head thinking, wow, mine is truly invasive. It's in my yard. And then I failed to look up whether it's one of those things listed on Mobot as invasive. If you are watching the YouTube version of this, you will know that I will have put up a little flashy sign on it saying, yes, it is or no, it isn't. But it was for her and it was for me. So you might want to stay virtuous and stick with the Calicarpa americana.
Well, it's definitely aggressive. Now, the interesting thing is I've never had that happen. Now, remember, that was for, Damn, I Wish I Planted That, and I was talking about Calicarpa americana, and that's the American native Calicarpa, the beauty berry for those who are not up on the Latin with that. But, dichotoma, I had to admit, is a very small, compact, very graceful shrub, smaller berries. Because I haven't experienced any seeding of it, that could just be because of my soil or the conditions, you never know. For the first time in my long life of growing buddleia, which is probably 25 years, I am having a ridiculous amount of buddleia seedlings pop up from a buddleia that's supposed to be sterile or
Oh,
very
no.
close to sterile. It's never happened before, and I have other buddleias in my garden. So, these things can be different, and if you're starting to see that with any plant that you're growing, you may want to do exactly as this listener did and not only grub up those seedlings, but grub out the plant.
Yeah.
Of course, that means that most of our American natives will have to go, starting with a solid Dago. Sorry.
We have some new mixers, and one of them is a household name, Joyce Householder, who was on our trip to,
Hey, Joyce.
Hey, Joyce, thank you so much for supporting us, and Roxanne Ward is our other new mixer. Don't forget that you could go to Substack and become a paid sponsor for the Garden Mixer podcast, and because of that, receive our biweekly edition, which is called One More Sip of the Garden Mixer. Also, as I mentioned before, we are on YouTube. We have photographs of almost every plant we talk about, so go there and have a look, and go ahead and subscribe. Thank you very much. We'd also appreciate any reviews that you could give us on Apple, on Spotify, all the
Yeah, you're just
places.
sitting there at the grocery store, you got nothing to do, you're on your phone, Instagram's boring the heck out of you, Facebook's toxic. Get on Spotify and put a comment in.
If we made you laugh,
And that helps
let
the
us know.
show. Yeah, if we made you laugh. And if you are a new mixer, new paid subscriber, and you haven't heard your name, we have always have a delay in the names being read. So we will, of course, have Jane flogged immediately after the show.
That Jane.
But it will get there. It will be patient because sometimes we're recording ahead. Your name hasn't come up yet. So
But we do
just
appreciate
hang
you.
on in there, but we do appreciate you so much. And it's exciting too because this is a rapidly growing community and it's fun to see on several continents. We've got listeners in the United Kingdom, in Australia, in Europe. I think Sweden is our number 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, so hi.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
right.
hi to you.
Hi. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Damn, I Wish I'd Planted That.
This is a part of the show where we give you a plant that is doing something special in the garden right now at the time that you're listening to this podcast. And that doesn't have to be flowers. It can be foliage or something else. And that's exactly what I'm talking about today. I'm discussing this for its seed heads. These are some of the most beautiful seed heads in the garden, even though they're completely untouchable. They're actually toxic. They're like castor beans, but they're so gorgeous. And this is the blackberry lily, which is neither a blackberry nor a lily. Discuss amongst yourselves. So it used to be Bellum canda domestica, or no, chinensis. Now it is Iris domestica. It's actually in the iris family, and it has iris-like leaves and a very tall, slender flower, or mini flowers on the top of a long stalk, a bit like a daylily, but the flowers are only about 2 inches wide at the most. Very bright orange with little freckles, or there's one called Hello Yellow, which is yellow and very beautiful. Now, these flowers turn into a seed head that looks just like a blackberry. And as Leslie said earlier, we're one of the only podcasts that's going to actually put this picture up for you so you can see why I like to grow it. You get those beautiful flowers, which butterflies really do love and bees love. And then you get these lovely seed heads popping up in random places. It does reseed itself. It takes about 2 to 3 years for those seedlings to become flowering plants, but it's worth it. And if you're feeling like I just don't need this, you can pull it right up. It's just the work of a second to pull those up. But a very beautiful plant. Lot of cool texture and terrific in the vase as an accent, right? I think it zones 5 to 10 and full sun, partial shade, but not too partial because it wants to flop over and then you'll end up having to stake it. So especially putting it up in some of your prairie style plants, ruining your prairie aesthetic completely, but not really because it's so pretty. Do you grow that, Les?
I have grown it at many clients' gardens, and then I grew for myself the yellow one, which I did like. It's very beautiful. It's a good vertical accent, just like iris foliage is, but this is even more vertical, and it is quite tall, and those berries are cool. So this time I went with something that was sort of yellow. And Marianne actually questioned whether I wanted to do it at this time of year because it flowers in the spring, but this is a euphorbia. And the cultivar is called Ascot Rainbow. It is one of my favorite plants, and it's really a 4-season plant. And it's coming into its own right now because it does sulk a tiny bit in a hot, humid summer, or you just don't notice it as much. It's not like saying, look at me. That's the time when it's sort of saying, you look at everything else, because I'm really fabulous in spring, and I'm really fabulous in fall, and I'm actually going to look pretty darn good in the winter too. So it's an evergreen plant, and it has these crazy yellow foliage with green striations, and it even goes to pink, and the stalks are quite red. It is a good-looking clump, about 2.5 feet tall, and can get that wide. I have some new ones that I put in. When did I put them in? Probably 18 months ago, and they're just looking so great, coming up between some Victoria salvia and some calamintha. It's a great. They're just making me very happy right now. Very low maintenance. They love a good drought. They don't like the humidity much, but they'll come back and they'll survive it. Deer won't touch it. And a word of caution, it has some very nasty sap associated with it when you go to cut this flower, and it's a good cut flower, good cut foliage. It's excellent. It can last a long time in a vase. Wear gloves, and then don't accidentally rub your eye with that glove because you will be so sad for about the rest of the day and maybe into the next day. And I've done that, as you can tell. What an idiot.
The scarring. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see the scarring,
the
Leslie. Yeah.
scarring was there.
So, do you cut it back in the spring to the ground, or do you allow it to flower on those?
The old
Is it one
guys.
of those euphoric? I'm asking you this because it is so rarely hardy for me in my zone. Some winters it gets through, and some winters it doesn't. And listeners, I'm in 6B,
Yeah.
7A, and it really is maybe this winter, maybe not. So
Oh, too
I
bad.
haven't played with it too much in the spring. So would you do like you would for like
Wait a minute.
wolfenii?
I looked on Mobot, it says it's 6 through 9.
Yeah, that stuff lies too. Well, okay, let me not say Mobot lies. That's the wrong way to put that. Um, it's not definite. That's not
Okay,
definite.
okay.
And I have a friend who grows it nearby here, and she loses it, sort of every other winter. She always buys it because she loves it, but
Yeah.
it's not reliably hardy. And it probably has a lot to do with winter wet. It's a
Yes,
euphorbia, and it has a lot to do with winter
it
wet, I'm
would want to
sure.
be dry. Yeah, it would want
But
to be
yeah,
dry.
great deer resistant. So what do you cut it back in the spring, or do you wait for it to flower?
Yes, I do both. I look at any stalk that is looking like it doesn't wanna it's fighting it's fighting gravity, or it looks woody and ugly, then that's gone, and, sometimes that means that an entire plant is just gonna have a new flush of growth. I'm not fussed about the flowers. They're bright sort of neon yellow, very airy. That's not what does it for me on this plant. It's all foliage on the Ascot rainbow. I love it.
I love that plant. It's you know what? This is a great plant as just a summer romance, even if you're not,
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
get it through the winter. Amazing in containers. Just
Oh, yeah.
amazing in containers. Every color you want is there, so you can pretty much mix and match with any flower. I love that plant. Martinii, I think, if Euphorbia
Artinia.
martinii.
Uh-huh. Some people call it Martin's euphorbia, but this is a particular
Oh, okay.
a particular type, that was found in Germany or something. Oh, just so everybody knows, because you should, this will make your day complete. The genus name, Euphorbia, probably honors Euphorbus, a physician of the king of Mauritania. And don't even ask me what century that happened, but I read it
I am
on
da
here.
I am now just that much more intelligent. It's amazing.
We
Thank
gotta
you.
land this plan. We've been talking too long.
Way too long, girl. Way too long, but it has been fun, and I
Yeah.
hope that some just like 1 or 2 things that we shared with you will be in your head as you're out there with your 2 shovels and your 2 forks and your knife and your all of the things that you need to do some damage out there and make some new baby plants. Free is good.
Free is good. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.